How's things for you in terms of training? I assume you're not able to get to the gym, or have you worked some kind of routine out? I've seen you training in the woods a bit.
Yeah, so I'm quite fortunate in the fact that there's woods sort of in walking distance away, but there's no gym at the moment. There aren't any training partners, so it's very much, using all the experience that we have had through the years of training with coaches and different teams and just sort of trying to create your own structure and routine. And I guess the really important part now is because you only have yourself to account for, is really making sure you have that same dedication and ownership of each session to make sure, there's a goal after each one. Um, and I think I'm in the same boat in the fact that sometimes we have really good days and, we feel really pumped for training and everything feels like it's going great. And then, it's the peaks and troughs of just life in general. But yeah, really important to keep that routine going and maintain training in any minute.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very strange times, I think, for everybody, and it's just an adjustment period. Is it surreal for you what a year it kind of was in terms of WLC? How do you look back on it now? Because I since found out that you dislocated your shoulder early on in the fight, which you kind of hid fairly well and put in a good performance. But you seemed like you really enjoyed the moment, that you took it all in, and the people in Myanmar really love you. You can see that particularly online. There's a lot of love for you, and you made a bit of a splash out there. There's excitement about when you're going to perform there next. So how do you look back on that debut? You beat Bianca Beloiti by decision pretty convincingly, and you look good doing it.
You know what? When I look back, I just feel so humbled by the whole experience. I could not have asked for better support or better fans in the Myanmar people. They've just almost inundated me with such positivity and love and encouragement. There isn't really a bad thing to say about any of them. It's just also so genuine. It's so nice to see them so happy and so proud to see someone represent Myanmar and have all that support behind them. Like it really means a lot. So I felt very humbled by the whole experience. And yeah, you know what? I was completely surprised that I managed to still win, even having dislocated my shoulder. It was very much so after the first round, realizing that actually I couldn't really keep it up that well. That sort of as a fighter, you don't want to let your opponent know. So it's very much about trying to keep that poker face, but also trying to have a game plan in the fact that you're still able to bring home the win. So yeah, it was an incredible experience for a whole number of reasons, and I feel that that moment for me really helped me develop as a fighter as well, because it's in moments like that you can either say, you know what, like let's go for it, but at the same time it's also enough of a injury that you could say, you know what, like my shoulder's too bad, I might not, like I'll just quit. So for me to be able to sort of push past that and be like, okay, you know what, kicking has almost been my foundation coming through Taekwondo. Let's just use those two limbs as best as I can and see what we can make of it. And I feel like that really demonstrates that sometimes you take risks and they pay off. And in this case, I'm just so grateful that that did. And other times you take risks and they may not pay off, but at least when you look back, you don't have to go, well, what if? Because it's such an incredible experience. WLC is just, one such a great platform, but as you know, there aren't many other organizations that allow you to use all nine limbs. So it's like a formidable experience. And sometimes you just have to go with it and see what happens.
Absolutely. What stage of the fight? So you said just after the first round you realised it was dislocated. Did you put it in yourself? Did your coach help put it in? How did you deal with it? And did it happen overextending on a punch? Talk us through a little bit more about how that came about and how you dealt with it.
Oh, I think we broke out for a bit.
I was asking really about the shoulder. How did it happen? And did you pop it back in? Did your coach pop it back in? How did you react to it?
So I remember it going in almost like the first 20 seconds, and I kept trying to hold it up and it kept dropping down. I was like, maybe I can hook it onto my hair or my ear to try and hold my hand up. But I didn't feel like I did that very convincingly. And it was only when I went back to the corner and my coach was like, you've got legs. You can win this fight just by kicking. Like, let's just change the game plan completely and go with that. And I feel that really gave me the confidence to just be like, you know what, it hasn't worked out how I want to. So I have no other option but to change it. We tried to pop it back in the middle of sort of round 1 to round 2. I'm not too sure it went in completely because it just felt completely out. And I think another blessing in that whole scenario is when everything's so heightened, there's a lot of adrenaline. So you don't realize how much pain you're in until afterwards. And, the decision has been made and you're walking off and you're like, oh, dear God, what have I done to my arm? So I think that was a blessing in disguise as well.
Well, you said you developed a lot as a fighter because of that experience, and it's easy to forget that that was your debut in the sport of Lethwei, and it's such a baptism of fire because of the nature of the sport, right? So what has it left you with in terms of thoughts about what you're wanting to do next time, in terms of what you want to show? Because I thought you looked actually quite graceful, you've had a background in dancing, right? You look very graceful when you fight, and I thought it was really interesting. Some of the comments as well from the locals, they're like, you're very beautiful to watch. You put on a great fight, but we want you to be more aggressive and go for the finish. Is that something you've taken away? Because they're so oriented around the finish in Lethwei fans, right? Perhaps more than ever any combat sport, because of where the sport has come from. It's been so oriented around knockouts, and it has evolved a lot. But what do you think about that?
No, that's definitely a comment I'll take on board. And I think as a fighter, I think that's your ultimate goal. And it's just finessing your technique and abilities to be able to get that within the ring every single time, or, as frequently as you can. So, yeah, I'd agree that's a common goal.
Have you been speaking to Gerald at all, or WLC? They've got very big plans. I believe they were planning to do their big US show in July. Of course, with everything going on, that's definitely not going to happen now. They're looking at Cambodia as well. But the female fighters are kind of in this promotion at the birth of it.
That's going on. So I think once we get into a space and it's actually safe for fighters to compete in contact events again, then that'll definitely be on the cards. But yeah, everything's been brought to a halt.
Is it exciting for you that the female division is so young in WLC, so you're kind of coming in at the start, and the few of you who've got a victory are in such an interesting position? There's Suri Manfredi as well, and Ha Hu Hyun Hugh from Vietnam. So do you feel like you're a part of history?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a really proud moment for females as a whole, and especially I think, yeah, as you said, I think there's only been a couple of WLC fights with females in it. So to be able to represent that and show that we are as capable, I think really sends out a strong message to all females that anything is possible. And there's a huge contrast between us three and the fact that you can be feminine outside the ring, but everyone's equally as aggressive within the ring. And I think that's quite a nice message, because it doesn't show that you just have to be this one aggressive person all the time, that actually, you can enjoy the sport and actively participate, but also just be your own person too and have no judgment passed. And I think that's a really nice message.
Is it surreal for you that you kind of have this big following in Myanmar, but what is the relationship with Lethwei in Great Britain? Because in my opinion, it's still, your average man on the street will probably still have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, right? Is that a bit surreal? Because it's absolutely massive in Myanmar.
It's definitely a huge contrast. So you're probably correct there. Definitely people in the UK, and more particularly within the fighting world, are coming to learn and understand and familiarise themselves with what Lethwei is as a sport and appreciate it. But yeah, when I tell people that, oh, the most recent fight I did was Lethwei, they're sort of like, what does that involve? But I mean, I think that's part of the enjoyment with martial arts, is that you get to teach other people and share that knowledge. And I feel like that's only a positive thing for Lethwei and WLC. And yeah, Myanmar, because it's a sport of Myanmar.
I mentioned a couple of those destinations that have been mooted, the US, whether it's Miami or somewhere else, Cambodia. Do you have a bucket list of somewhere that you'd like to perform or that you would kind of push for if you had the opportunity?
Not particularly. I never really said I've had much of the travel bug. For me, it's always just fulfilling my passion. And even when I travel abroad with fights, the focus is always the fight. I don't typically do that much touring around because I want all my energy and focus to be on delivering my best performance. So I just try to rest as much as possible and, yeah, really just do what I'm there to do. I don't feel the destination is that much as important. I did really enjoy, that being said, I did really enjoy being in Myanmar, and it was such a special moment to have my mum there as well and to bring her home. I mean, for us, that was just so special.
That was
so apart from cool. Apart from Myanmar, probably I'm not too fast.
Yeah, that was very cool to see her there ringside as well. Aung La N Sang had a chat with me recently, and he named you as one of his favourite Lethwei fighters. I thought that was a great shout out from a guy who is an absolute hero in Myanmar and beyond. I saw that you saw that message. Yeah. What have you had much interaction at all with him?
Yeah, so Aung La N Sang, he's been an absolutely incredible role model to me, in terms of helping with guidance and direction and always just being there in terms of that support. And I'm so appreciative because he has such an incredible fan base and following that he even had the time to reach out. Just to me, just meant the world.
Awesome. What kind of things? Yeah. What has he said?
Felt very special. Just words of advice, saying good luck when I have my fights, asking how my family are, and just going that extra effort to create a bit of a relationship. And I just feel, it didn't go unnoticed. It was very considerate, very grateful for that.
He is the man. I'm really interested to ask you, I know that you are interested in one championship. They of course have Muay Thai, they have kickboxing as well, and I believe they are going to progress a little bit. They've had a Lethwei card in Myanmar before, or they had it on the undercard. Have you spoken to Chatri ever? Have you spoken to anyone from one? I know that you're signed to management that has a few female fighters who are already signed with one. So is that something that's almost inevitable in your future, do you think? Or what's the latest?
So that's definitely a goal I would love to pursue. And maybe that might be possible. It's definitely on the dream board. But I think I share that with a lot of fighters, is that, WLC and One Championships are almost like the two biggest organizations that any fighter would dream to be on. And I like One Championship for the fact that it's a very respectable and honorable community for fighters. And I like the fact that they're reflected in a good light, and that there isn't so much of the sort of trash talking that you sometimes get in other sports. The element of respect there, like, to me, is the most important part, and that's something I'd love to be a part of.
Yeah, that's certainly a huge part of One Championship's kind of ethos. Do you have anyone that you look up to in the fighting world, either in Muay Thai or MMA outside of Aung La? Anybody that you sort of, female or male, that you look up to a lot?
I think I'm just massively biased. I just think Aung La N Sang, he does such a great job in terms of inspiring everyone who follows him from a fan base perspective, but also really drives home the importance of staying humble, you know, looking after and loving your family, making sure you spend time with the ones that you love. And I feel like that's such an important message, not only as a fighter with inside the ring to train hard and be dedicated and follow your dreams, but also from just a personal perspective and making sure that you're fulfilling yourself as much as you can and looking after those that love you as well.
It's a pretty good role model. Pretty good role model to have. He's the man, and yeah, he's super fun to watch as well. Okay, finally then, are you keeping a close eye on what's going on? We touched on the women's division before, but there could be a real prospect of you becoming a world champion if you play your cards right. So are you keeping an eye on potential matchups for yourself? Because they're inevitably going to introduce a belt soon, and you'll be right in the picture for that.
Yeah, so to be honest, I just really focus on the moment, and instead of looking too far forward and where we are today, especially given the situation that we're in, quarantine, it's really focusing on making sure I get the right goals out of each day and just keeping that consistency and dedication to training and tapping into those areas where I don't always have so much time to work on when you're in a fight camp, because sometimes when you're in a fight camp, it's highly focused, you know, getting yourself super fit, developing the game plan. But now such ample time to work on all those other areas that every fighter always just lists, you know. There's that constant strive for perfection in sort of every area. And now, for me, that's the real focus. It's, you know, what can I make the most of and develop, whether that be physically, mentally, you know, in all areas. So it's more about focusing on the present as opposed to looking too far into the future. But should that opportunity arise, that'd be, you know, obviously that would be a great opportunity. I'd absolutely love that.
Yeah, it'd be exciting, and hopefully when things do get better, that's something we get to see. Maybe 2021. Yeah, I wondered.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Do you speak any Burmese? Because I'm sure if after your next win, if you just said a couple of words, everyone would go nuts.
Yeah, that's definitely on the to-do list in terms of learning a bit more. So once I'm out of quarantine, I've agreed with my nan and she's going to help me learn a little bit because she's still able to speak it. And I think my mum's probably going to try and go down memory lane and remember a bit more as well than she probably already does.
That would be amazing. I think you get a massive response. Nicola, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Really can't wait to see you out there again. You'll probably be in Yangon or somewhere, or who knows where, you know. But good luck with training and good luck with everything, and all the best to the family.
Oh, definitely. And likewise to yourself.